So when I was like 5 and my brother was like 8, he and I would fight like all the time. It would drive my mom insane. So this one time we were driving in the car and we were fighting, and then my mom like pulled over off the side of the road and then was like, if you guys start fighting one more time, I'm gonna drop you off the side of the road. And then we just completely ignored her and we started fighting again. And as soon as we started fighting again, then she again pulled off on the side of the road and was like, get out of my car. And we were like, huh? And then she was like, get out of my car. And so we got out of the car. We were probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks away from my house. And then my mom drove away. And just as my mom like drove away, my grandma came driving through, and as my mom like drove away, my grandma came driving through and she saw us. So my mom's plan was to drive around the corner like, just to scare us and to pick us back up. But my grandma saw us and she picked us up and she was like, what happened? We were like, our mom dropped us off the side of the road. And then my grandma was like, get in the car. So we got in the car and then we left with my grandma. So my mom comes back around and she's like, oh my gosh, where are my kids? And I'm old, so this was before cell phones were like a common thing. And so she had no way of calling and finding out where we were. And so me and my brother were just chilling in my grandma's house while my mom was probably freaking out somewhere. And we were like, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it got us to stop fighting, that's for sure.
Am I wrong for leaving my husband after I found out that he had cancer? So my husband and I had been married for about 10 years before we started becoming distant. A little while after, he actually cheated on me with one of my close friends. After that, nothing was ever the same between me and him. Now don't get me wrong, I still loved him, but things could never go back to the way they used to be. Eventually, he fell sick, started losing a lot of weight, having trouble breathing, getting random rashes on his skin. So we both agreed that he should go to the hospital to get checked. So he went to the hospital and had to wait a few days to get the results. A few days had passed, so he went back to the hospital to get his results. When he came back home, I asked him what his results were. He said everything was fine, there was nothing to worry about. Then he put his keys on the counter and hopped into the shower. A couple days before, I had lost my credit card. I looked everywhere for it, couldn't find it, but the only place I didn't look was my husband's car. So I grabbed his keys while he was in the shower and I went to his car to look for my credit card. I was thinking maybe it fell out of my wallet while I was sitting in one of the seats. While I was looking for the credit card, I found a folder from the hospital he just went to. When I looked inside the folder, there was his test result. It was a biopsy test that confirmed he had cancer. So I went back inside to confront him for lying to me. Come back for part 2. This is part 2 of the story of me leaving my husband after I found out that he had cancer. So after I found the positive test results in his car that confirmed he had cancer, I went back inside to confront him for lying to me. I was sitting down waiting for him to get out of the shower. But then I kind of decided that I didn't want to confront him. Our marriage was already going downhill and I was already having thoughts about leaving him anyway. I mean, he did cheat on me with my close friend. I know this might make me sound like a terrible person, but I didn't want to be there for him. I didn't want to be his main support system mentally or physically. And cancer is a lot to deal with. I didn't want to be in and out of the hospital, spending multiple days there, sleeping there, paying all of the bills myself. It would be too much for me. So I decided I was going to pack my things and leave without telling him when or why. And I mean, he didn't know that I knew he had cancer, so he wouldn't think that I was leaving him because of that. So I knew I needed to leave before he decided to tell me he had cancer, so it didn't look like I left him because of that. So the next day, he went to work, and then I went to work. As in packing all my stuff, and then I left. Afterwards, he kept begging me to come back, so I blocked him, and I haven't talked to him since.
So my cousin, who is more like my brother, hated chickens. He was deathly afraid of them. So back in the day when my grandma was alive, and we were like 4 or 5 years old, she would make him go feed the chickens. Anthony, vaya darle comida a las gallinas. But why, Grandma? You know I'm so scared. They don't like me. He sounded like that too. Ah! Let me stop roasting him. Back to the story. But I'm telling you, chickens can smell your fear. Hey, yo, come see this. Tony's back. Oh, Lord. You know I run the streets, right? I just brought you some carrots. The chickens were such savages. They would literally come and attack him. But what's funnier is that he had a big old head when he was little. They would come to peck his head. They would just... I think he still has scars.
Am I wrong for banning my mother-in-law out of my house after she hung a picture of my husband's ex on the wall? My husband, 30, and I, 31, have just bought our first house together. We're loving it and we're excited to decorate it together. Unfortunately, my husband travels a lot for work and we've already had new furniture orders arrive, but I couldn't do it all myself. My mother-in-law offered to help and I agreed. Yesterday, I got back from work at 8 and was shocked to see one of the walls was full of framed pictures that my mother-in-law put there. That is not the main problem because these pictures were from his childhood, graduation, birthdays, but then I saw the biggest framed picture of them all, and it is of him and his ex on their wedding day. Context: mother-in-law adores my husband's ex. She brings her up all the time and reminisces about the past years with her. Not only that, but she includes her in events and holidays which cause issues between us. I lashed out on my mother-in-law, asking her why that picture is on the wall and how she thought it was an appropriate thing to do. I told her to take it down in that instance, but she got defensive and said, "This is part of Derek's life and you cannot erase it." Yes, you can. Then went on about how many hours she spent working on this wall and how I should be a little bit more appreciative. I lost my cool and flipped out on her. I took a chair and removed the picture. I told her to take the picture and leave, but she tried to say it wasn't just the ex in the picture, but my husband as well. But I told her I'd throw it out if she doesn't leave. She left, but started texting me saying that I'm jealous, bitter, overbearing, and controlling. I responded telling her she disrespected me in my own home by what she did and proceeded to ban her from my house. She called my husband and forwarded a screenshot of the ban. He called me and we talked. Then he said his mom ought to know better, but she didn't, and I was right to be angry, but banning her from the house was an overreaction, like a crazy overreaction. He tried to get me to call her and cancel the ban, but I refused. He then ranted about how unfair I was being to make such a decision when it's our house and not just mine. Conversation got nowhere, and now I'm waiting for him to get home to talk. My in-laws are upset with me saying I went overboard with this reaction and urged me to let my mother-in-law back in the house and drop this whole thing like it never happened. So, am I wrong for banning her?
I've officially reached crotchety old millennial stage. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen, but I was at a Jonas Brothers concert with my friend, and she said something like, "Oh, some of these Gen Zers just have no respect for anybody." And I said, "Tell me about it." The other day I was in Target and these Zoomers got mad at me because I was walking too slow down the aisle. And I wanted to say, listen, ladies, some of us aren't at Target for fun anymore. Some of us come to Target because we're defeated and sad and having an existential crisis. And we needed somewhere to go on a night walk that was safe. And also we needed milk. And also when the Target carts, you can lean your whole body on them and just let them slide you across the store. You don't even have to lift your feet. You can literally just trudge through Target for your night walk. But we were at the Jonas Brothers concert and we were keeping up with the youths, okay? We were fangirling really hard. And then freaking Nick Jonas leans into his mic and he said, "Give us a cheer tonight if you came here with someone you love," which not cool, Nick, because my friend went, "Woo!" and I did nothing. And then I realized she was cheering and I was like, "Oh, woo!" I also came with someone I loved, but she noticed I didn't cheer right away. And she just looked over and she was like, "I love you." And am I stupid? Went, "Oh, you're so nice." And then the show ended super abruptly, no encore, nothing. And my friend was really mad about it. And I was trying to defend the Jonas Brothers. And also because I think everything's about me all the time and therefore my fault, I said, you know what? Maybe it was our fault. The audience kind of sucked tonight. When Nick stopped singing so that we could sing the words, the audience didn't know the words. And I could see the disappointment on Nick's face. And it did not feel good. You know, it was like a group project. You and I did our part. The rest of the team didn't. Nick's disappointed in us. No encore. So we're having this conversation and then a woman came up to us and said, "Girls, the show is over. You need to leave." And I said, "Oh yeah, of course, I'm sorry." But then I immediately got angry at her tone and my reaction to her tone. I was like, who does she think she is? My mother? She can't talk to us like that. We're not girls. We're grown women. And a little old man who was also working the venue heard my outburst and he kind of like came over and he said, "What?" And I said, "We're not girls, we're women." And he said, "Yes, you are." And I said, "Jonas Brothers fans, they're not little kids anymore, okay? We're adults. A lot of people at this concert weren't even conceived when the Jonas Brothers became a band, but we were already alive."